In 1999, Barry Winchell became the last man murdered as a result of the military's policy of don't ask, don't tell. And while the story has become larger than life, life must go on for the real people on which it was based. After the trial, Calpurnia Adams moved to California. She underwent gender reassignment surgery and currently writes and produces videos to help transgender individuals. Barry Winchell's mother, Pat, has dedicated herself to speaking out against prejudice and keeping her son's story and memory alive.
When Barry went into the Army, he fell in love with it. He was nominated for Soldier of the Month. He received 3 medals. He wanted to make the Army his life. Barry broke up with his girlfriend in about February of 1999. They'd been going together for about 4 years. They were engaged, and he was very devastated over that. And some of his friends took him down to the bar in Nashville, the Connections, and there he met Calpurnia.
I grew up in a fundamentalist cult. I never saw a movie until I was 18. Then I joined the Navy as a combat medic to get away from that, and was in Desert Storm, lived in Alaska, and then, became a showgirl. And my relationship with Barry was my first relationship as a woman with a man. And even of all the relationships I've had, and it was just the most natural and immediate connection for me.
I don't believe he was gay. I don't know. Only Barry knows the answer to that. Only Barry knows is if he was finding out or if he just wanted a friend. But, it's not really relevant whether he was or not. If you can have a finger pointed at you and be murdered for that finger pointing, it's the same as going back to McCarthyism.
The murder of Barry Winchell attracted a great deal of media attention and revived the national debate over don't ask, don't tell.
Well, I'm not a fan, even though I'm blamed for don't ask, don't tell, because it was an accommodation. It was an accommodation dictated by President Clinton, and it was a compromise. The Defense Department wanted to uphold the old ban and keep asking the questions up front. We didn't want a soldier coming into the military knowing or believing that the military was gay-friendly. The military has never been gay-friendly.
In World War II, psychiatrists came up with a policy thinking that gay people were sick. They quickly abandoned that rationale. They came up with the rationale that gay people then posed a security risk because they could get blackmailed if they weren't out to their colleagues. They abandoned that rationale and then said, well, it's about performance. Gay people just can't perform as well in the military. And then in the debate in 1993, they dropped that rationale as well, and now they have this rationale that having openly gay people hurts unit cohesion.
I've never seen that affect anybody's performance. Everybody's out there to do a job. If anything, I saw more likely whether they were married and had children affecting their job, especially in my career field where women were not that prevalent.
Throughout my career, all of my superiors had said, Airman Freeman's going to make an excellent officer. He's a top performer. He's one of the best troops we had. I actually had a supervisor who said, you're the airman that every supervisor dreams of. And all of a sudden, I just wasn't fit to serve because they knew I was gay.
The law itself creates more violence and more harassment in the military, because what it does is everyone feels they have to be more macho so that nobody points a finger at them and says, you're gay.
I think we have created a double pretense. The pretense is this, that for the homosexual, they have to pretend that they aren't homosexual. And for the military, we have to pretend that we don't care that a homosexual is serving. And I think that this stark hypocrisy.
The trial pointed a spotlight on the failures of don't ask, don't tell, and raised more questions about what went so terribly wrong.
I found out about no 911 hookup in the barracks, so that Barry laid there bleeding for 45 minutes before any help was given to him. They even broke don't ask, don't tell and asked Barry if he was gay, and he denied that.
Every single day for 4 months leading up to his murder, he experienced anti-gay harassment, people calling him fag, faggot, queer, and he did not know what to do about it. This is information that came out during the trials. He had turned to friends and said, I'm afraid to report this to my command because I'm afraid that they're going to investigate me.
Just to think about, his lonely hours and days suffering that cruelty, I just wish I could have been there for him emotionally for that.
Major General Clark either knew or should have known of the harassment that was going on in the units. That communication never took place.
All of it was shoved under a rug. It seemed to be a totally violent, homophobic atmosphere. And then there was the drinking.
Soldiers, based on my experience, do stupid things when they're under the influence of alcohol or illicit drugs. And so I would say that if these soldiers had not been drunk, they may have had their prejudices in the back of their minds, but I don't think they would have followed through and committed this terrible murder against an innocent victim.
Faithfully portraying the characters and events leading to Barry's tragic death required a commitment to the real people behind the story.
The producers of this movie came to Nashville and met me personally, and I was just completely struck with the dead serious determination, empathy, and commitment they had to this story.
Other people saw this as a political story. We saw it as a love story, as a very human story that could apply to everybody. And our feeling was that the best way to talk about the political story was to make a great love story in which the politics really speak for themselves. You can draw your own conclusions.
But the controversial nature of the story made it a risky project, even for veteran filmmaker and Oscar winner Frank Pearson.
So I said no, and then for the next week I walked around and I could not get it out of my head just as a story, and I thought, well, wait a second, if that story is that strong and the script is that strong, why am I turning it down? And I realized I was afraid of it. So I thought, wow, that is the very reason to do it.
Playing the role of a transgender individual was a transforming experience for actor Lee Pace.
The day that we did the makeup tests, and we spent like 4 hours getting the breasts on and getting the hips and the face and the hair, and then getting dressed. Just those like few minutes in front of the camera with the whole complete package together did more for my transformation than anything I could have done reading the script or imagining women or how are women different than men.
I really think a special thing about this film, one of many, is that it shows a side of a transgender woman's life that maybe hasn't been shown before, not that I've seen personally, and that's, the side where just as a human being, a woman wants to be loved and have somebody who cares about her, like every human does, and I'm glad that this film shows that.
This is a very recent wound. And this happened in 1999, and the loss of a son or a loved one takes a lifetime to process.
My husband and I speak everywhere we can to try to bring awareness, to try to bring enlightenment, to try to educate about not only Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but about discrimination and about hate. We may not make much difference, but we will keep fighting, and we will keep speaking out until things are changed in this country as far as Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and discrimination and hate.